When it comes to ARK, rat holes are essential for all maps. So we proudly present Top 10 Rat Holes on Lost Island. Now coming in at number 10, this location can be found at 85.7 latitude and 79.3 longitude. Now this location can be found in the desert. Now if you come to this little tiny crack, there is a decent sized opening in here, I would say. Now this is of course meant for a solo player, as anybody who's bigger that has a big tribe, sorry, but I don't think you're gonna, it is possible to squeeze a full tribe in here, but it's going to be very uncomfortable to live in. Now there's the bed and the foundation to basically show you the proper scale of this, as we have not been doing that in some of our last videos, but it's a good size. It just goes up, so you're going to have to build up with some pillars and maybe a cliff platform. There's not a ton of room to work with, but great for starting out location. It's great for solo. And overall, not a horrible location. But this is on the number 10 spot, as, you know, this is by far one of our worst ones out of this whole list. But the fact that this is one of the worst ones and it's still a pretty decent rat hole, that is amazing. So stay tuned till number 1 to see what we have in store for you. But anyways, let's move on to number 9. And then coming in on the number 9 spot, this can be found at 56.4 latitude and 45.3 longitude. Now my favorite thing about this rat hole is this can actually be found right above one of the major caves in the game, but it looks like it's basically a walkway to go to something, but it just kind of ends, and it's just kind of a little like mysterious little rat hole. I also did find out if you ghost behind that wall, it goes to this really weird abandoned tunnel that literally leads to nowhere, so I'm not fully sure what that's all about. If you guys do know what that's about, go comment it down below. But let's get on to the next one. And then coming in at number 8, this can be found at 42.2 latitude and 17.4 longitude. Now this is one that can be found underwater, and there are actually some amazing underwater rat holes on this map. Now that big mushroom you can actually mine and get rid of that, so don't worry about that, I just decided to leave it in. And here's the sheer size of this whole thing. There's a vacuum compartment. That is one of the S+ ones, so it's a little bit smaller, but it's still a pretty good size, I would say. Great for decent sized tribes, but if you're looking to build in here, I highly recommend it, as it's a nice little area to hide away from main players on the mainland. And then coming in at number 7, this can be found at 38.2 latitude and 46.5 longitude. Now this one is again underwater, so don't let the kind of filter like deceive you. I don't know really what happened here, but we were in spectator and it just decided to get rid of all the water, so yeah, we're just gonna leave it like that. Now this one is a little bit bigger than the last one, and that's why we decided to put this one before, and it is a lot bigger, but not too much bigger, with a kind of similar like entrance style. Now coming in at number 6, this can be found at 81.3 latitude and 61.3 longitude. Now this location is actually extremely hidden and has a very small entrance. Now here's the size of it compared to that foundation, so it is actually a pretty decent size, but for defense wise, it's gonna be a little tricky because it's built very awkwardly. Now if you want to stick inside the cave, highly recommend that actually, but it's going to be very hard to work with room in here, so if you're a smaller tribe, highly recommend this route for you. If you're a bigger tribe, I suggest you move on to some of the next ones. But here's the outside. It's a little bit tricky to defend, so I'm not sure what to fully do here, but let's move on to the next one. Now coming in at number 5, this can be found at 69.6 latitude and 53.2 longitude. Now this one looks like it can be raft rated, but the water actually ends there, so I'd say this one's not a raft raid, but it's a very odd rat hole, I'll say that. It's just kind of a skinny, narrow walkway that looks like it should lead somewhere, but just ends up over here next to the crystals. So this is the main area back here that you could really kind of build in. You can fit a 3x3, 4x4 in there, but it's not really the biggest to work with, so if you're looking for a very weird looking narrow rat hole, this is the one for you. Now coming at number 4, this can be found at 63.2 latitude and 45.0 longitude. Now this may be my favorite rat hole. Now coming through here, You're entered with a bear-like cave entrance, and then it opens up into this big room with a just perfect spotlight. I don't know why, I just really love this one. That's the size of it compared to the foundation. Just this nice little room, very flat, very easy to work with. A perfect little spotlight to light up your base. I love it. I love the PvE aspects of it, but what you can do for PvP could be endless with this. So just know that. Coming at number 3, this can be found at 21.3 latitude and 17.7 longitude. Now this one can be found underwater. Now this is not a full underwater rat hole, it's actually an underwater rat hole that leads into an air bubble. Now but what I mean by air bubble is this. You come through here and it opens up into a nice little area to work with. Now coming in here, it is decently flat, but there are a good amount of rocks. So kind of like Pearl Cave on Island, this is a similar setup but with just a lot more water. Now I like this one a lot because it's very secluded. I don't think anyone is going to even find this thing. That is the size compared to the foundation right there. And we should get an overview here in a second. Yes, like that. So it's actually not a bad base. It's just can be raft rated. But I don't believe anybody is going to be raft rating. The only thing that they could possibly raid with is like a Tuso or something. So I'd have to figure out for defense. But other than that, if you want to stay hidden, but you want to also not be fully underwater, this is definitely the rat hole for you. So let's move on to the next one. Now coming in at number 2, this can be found at 23.7 latitude and 77.1 longitude. This rat hole is in a very odd kind of location. Now I highly recommend staying on the interior side for this one, as if you build exterior, you are going to be found pretty easily. Now coming through here, it is more of a darker type cave, but opens up into a, I wouldn't say a large room, but a good medium-sized room that is pretty flat with some crystals in it. And I don't know why there's just big colorful crystals in this cave. But the location on this is actually pretty decent. You're right next to metal. You're kind of out of the way from a lot of the main traffic in the map, but I still wouldn't build on the exterior side of this cave. But anyways, that's going to be it for this one. Let's move on to number 1. Now coming in at number 1, this can be found at 71.7 latitude and 41.3 longitude. Now this one is by far my favorite one. Now we did use this in the last video for top 10 caves on Lost Island, but this is still considered a rat hole with a bear cave like entrance. And overall it's just a really good size. I mean, you have a nice little flat area, good lighting in the cave to really, get things lit up, and very massive, so you can easily build up, you can easily put stuff on the side, really wherever you want. But that's going to wrap it up for this video. We hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like if you're new, and hit that subscribe button, and also go comment OCYT for a heart.